Now, our next presenter, you know her, Michelle, last year, she stole the show at last year's summit. Everybody remember the 6 R's of self-generated traffic? Well, this year she's back, and she's here to talk to us today about how we can coach our salespeople to overcome today's most dominant buyers' fears, those fears that really are going to have to be taken care of if we want to accelerate the buying cycle.
So I have twin daughters, Brittany and Ashley, and when the girls were in elementary school, we decided to build a new home. And I remember at the time thinking just how important it was for us to be moved into our new home before the school year started. You see, the kids would be going to a new school district, which would mean new school, new friends, right? And I was so worried that they were going to be forced to transfer mid-year. Well, my fear that all of the friendships would be established, leaving no room for my daughters. In other words, Brittany and Ashley would be shunned. And because they would be shunned, they would get depressed. I mean, naturally. And because they would get depressed, they would start doing drugs at the ripe old age of 7. And because they would be doing drugs, they would certainly get kicked out of school, which would lead them to a life of crime. The only logical choice, because their career options would be limited due to their lack of education. And because they would be forced into a life of crime, well, they would absolutely get arrested because my girls weren't smart enough to get away with anything. And because they would be arrested for the foreseeable future, I would be forced to spend my holidays with my girls down at the county jail. Yeah, crazy. Yes, well, perhaps. But the fear was real, at least to me. And some of you may have found yourself in a similar situation at some point in your life, faced with a fear, real or imagined, rational or irrational, perhaps even catastrophizing the situation. Well, our home buyers are no different. Okay, sales leaders, you know what you're hearing from your teams. Buyers are scared. They're ghosting your salespeople and they aren't moving forward. Or if they are moving forward, it's at a speed that we're just not accustomed to. So we're going to spend a little bit of time talking about what's happening or what's not happening in the market, how it's affecting our sales, and what we can do about it. There is a trend, and the trend is buyers are staying longer in the buying cycle. Nod your head if you can relate to this in at least some or all of your communities. Yes? Some nodding heads? Yes, we can relate to this. Okay, so what's happening? Why is it happening at a time when rational thinking would think that the cycle would still be short? Because after all, we still have low supply and relatively strong demand. We have actually the opposite occurring, but it's worse than that. You see, in some cases, a buyer is staying in the cycle way after they make a purchase decision. And sadly, some of you know what I'm talking about here too, right? This is sadly that they continue to search for a new home even after they're under contract with you. Yeah, that's right. They cheat on you. They cheat on you in broad daylight with people who know you. I mean, even after the marriage. I mean, all the paperwork was signed. They agreed to date the rate, marry the home. It was official. Or so you thought. But then your salesperson gets the call. You know the call, right? Out of the blue. And it sounds something like, hi, we were wondering if it was okay. We made the decision. We want to cancel. We found something we like better and we want our earnest money back. I mean, come on now. What the heck? The only logical explanation for this is fear. Fear is the obvious culprit, and it's causing havoc and frustration for your buyers, for you, and your sales team. And ultimately, it's impacting your results. And let's be honest, every single person in this room, we all want the same thing. We want to capture and keep all the sales that we possibly can. We want not only our fair share, but we also want the fair share of the person sitting to the right of us. Yeah, we want their fair share too. Did that just get a little weird and uncomfortable? Well, that's okay, because you know what? We grow when we get uncomfortable. But here's the challenge that we're up against, and I want you to write this down, truly. Write this down. What we focus on gets magnified. What we focus on gets magnified. And think about it. What are buyers being told right now? They're being told things like, what are you, crazy? Why would you buy a home now? Prices and interest rates are so high. You should wait until rates go down. Or, boy, oh boy, did you sure miss out. You know, when I bought my home, I got 2.5% interest rate. What are you going to get stuck paying? So it's no wonder that according to the latest Gallup poll, that only 21% of Americans feel that now is a good time to buy a home, where 76% believe it's a bad time to buy a home. In other words, the general consensus is don't do it. And just like COVID is contagious, so is fear and doubt, and it spreads through person to person very, very quickly. And influencers are everywhere: news, social media, family, friends, coworkers, all sharing the same message. But there is some good news, and we could use some good news, right? The good news is the people who are coming through your doors are highly motivated. Highly motivated. How do we know this? Because they're coming in despite what everyone else is telling them. They are on a mission to improve their lives, and the only thing that is standing in their way of purchasing is confidence. And this is where your team comes in. This is when they get to put on their little superhero capes and they can save the day. They can influence your buyers to do what is in their best interest. And just like fear and doubt are contagious, so is confidence.